Greetings, my fellow freedom loving sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to the L3 podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangrove South Florida, and today's date is Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. And after I did my last show, I was browsing through Twitter and found out that Dr. Walter Williams has passed away. He was 84 years old. Come to the champion of freedom and liberty. He was fantastic. Read his articles on my show and listened to some of his interviews. Very articulate man. And he just passed. Well, I want to read a couple of articles pertaining to this matter. And just one really quick here. It's from an opinion from WashingtonExaminer.com. There'll be two articles I'm going to be reading from this. And this one's titled, Walter Williams, R.I.P. to a Champion of Freedom. That's what Beckett Adams has to say. It came out today. Conservative author and economist Walter Williams has died, ending the illustrious career of one of liberty's fiercest yet most soft-spoken advocates. Many conservatives know Williams from his years of subbing for talk radio host Rush Limbaugh. Others know Williams from his appearances on the 10-part 1980 PBS television series Free to Choose, featuring Nobel Prize-winning economist Milton Friedman. Born in 1936, the John M. Olin Distinguished Professor of Economics at George Mason University was known as a prolific author. Williams was the author of over 150 publications which have appeared in scholarly journals. Economic Policy Journal recalls in its memorandum. His work appeared in Economic Inquiry, American Economic Review, Georgia Law Review, Journal of Labor Economics, Social Science Quarterly, and Cornell Journal of Law and Public Policy, and popular publications such as Newsweek, Ideas of Liberty, National Review, Reader's Digest, Cato Journal, and Policy Review. There's a site he was on too called Creators.com. The man also wrote 10 books: America, A Minority Viewpoint, The States Against Blacks, All It Takes Is Guts, South Africa's War Against Capitalism, Do the Right Thing, The People Economist Speaks, More Liberty Means Less Government, Liberty versus the Tyranny of Socialism, Up from the Projects, an Autobiography, Race and Economics, How Much Can Be Blamed on Discrimination, and American Contempt for Liberty. To his friends, Williams, who was born both poor and fatherless in Philadelphia, and spent much of his childhood in public housing projects, was known as an uncompromising lover of liberty. Walter liked smoking. He also hated the TSA. Economist David Henderson recalled this week, after learning of Williams' death some years ago, the combination of no smoking regulations on planes and intrusive groping by the TSA caused him to vow never to fly by commercial airline again. When he received offers to give speeches that were far enough away that driving was infeasible, he negotiated a private airplane to take him there. John J. Miller likewise recalls in National Review the time that Williams exerted his independence and fought racial prejudice after being drafted into the U.S. Army in 1959 to fight in Korea. You sure it's Korea, 1959? That's interesting. Okay, we'll just keep on going here. Although the military had desegregated, he bristles at institutional prejudice and demonstrated his willingness to challenge racial orthodoxy. Miller wrote in 2011, he complained constantly about discrimination, even writing a letter about it to his commander-in-chief, President Kennedy. When he stepped off the plane for posting in Korea, Miller continues, he was told to fill out a paper with personal information. In the box for his race, he claimed to be white. No, you're not, said a warrant officer who reviewed the form. "Yes, I am," replied Williams, who knew perfectly well that he couldn't pass for a white guy. Williams explained his choice to the officer. "If I checked off Negro, I get the worst job over here." Williams' first assignment ended up being a relatively easy one, far away from the front lines. But he was known for his sharp mind. He was also known for his keen wit, his dry sense of humor, and his kindness. Personally, however, Williams will be remembered best as the soft-spoken conservative economist who frequently clowned on his late wife Connie, who died in 2007. As Marymount University economics professor Brian Holler recalled after her death, Professor Williams used to make a lot of jokes in class about making his wife shovel snow and how much he spoiled her, used her bad behavior for illustrating downward sloping demand curves, etc. You could always tell, though, his teasing that he loved her deeply. Indeed, the Connie anecdotes were indicative not only of Williams' dry sense of humor, and they acted not only as excellent examples to explain complex economic theories, but they displayed well his humanity. The stories always revealed his clear and deep love for his wife for 47 years. He will be missed. Rest in peace, Walter Williams. Like I said before, I admired a lot of his columns on Creators.com. And I have an honor always to read some of it on my show. He was a one of a kind. These are the people we need to really emulate and then be inspired by. Doesn't matter what, regardless of your race, color, creed, national background, etc. He was very honorable, distinguished, and even listening to some of his shows, I enjoy every minute of it. And we're going to do one more here from Reason. Economics, of course. I just do my own thing. Walter Williams, R.I.P. I've been sad. This is by Rick Gillespie. Came out just recently. Yeah, wow. This just came out. I'm saddened to write of the death of libertarian economist Walter E. Williams. He passed away Wednesday morning at the age of 84, less than a day after teaching a class at George Mason University, where he worked for 40 years and helped transform his department into a highly respected center of free market scholars. A popular syndicate columnist whose work appeared in over 100 newspapers on a weekly basis. He was a longtime contributor to Reason and served as an emeritus trustee of the Reason Foundation, the nonprofit that publishes this website. Williams was so libertarian that he refused to accept the term as a descriptor. I interviewed him in 2011 and asked him whether he saw himself as part of the libertarian movement to which he had contributed so much. "No," he said, "I just do my own thing." You can look, there's a link for that interview according to the site here. Born in Philadelphia in 1936, Williams grew up as a neighborhood to Bill Cosby, in the city's racially segregated housing projects, and was drafted into the peacetime army during the Cold War. A self-described crazy-ass man who insisted on talking about liberty in America. Long before he was a public intellectual, the racist violence and abuse he suffered at the hands of the police, military officers, and other authorities informed much of his work in his powerful, evocative 2010 memoir, Up from the Projects. He recounts the time when, as a cab driver in the city of brotherly love, he was ordered out of his cab by a white officer, beaten up, and then charged with disorderly conduct. He wasn't thrilled about being drafted and being sent to a base on pre-integration Georgia. Disgusted by the pervasive racism he encountered in the military, Private Williams wrote to his commander-in-chief, President John F. Kennedy, This is what he has to say. Should Negroes be relieved out of their service obligation or continue defending and dying for empty promises of freedom and equality? Or should we demand human rights as our founding fathers did at the risk of being called extremists? Now I contend that we relieve ourselves of oppression in a manner that is in keeping with the great heritage of our nation. Powerful words. I love it. Everyone should keep that in mind. His two best-known works are probably 1982's The State Against Blacks and 1989 South Africa's War Against Capitalism, both of which focused on the ways that government systematically constrained the basic rights and freedoms of racial minorities by denying them opportunities to live and work however they saw fit. In a 1978 article for Reason titled The New Jim Crow Laws, he wrote, "Society is coming to view the difficulty that today's minorities face in entering the mainstream of society as a manifestation of group incompetence. Hardly anyone acknowledges that many, if not most, of the problems encountered are due neither to group nor to individual incompetence, but rather are due to the excesses of government dominated by politically powerful interest groups. The state," Williams argued, "typically forced blacks into hopeless situations, provided ineffective relief, and then blamed the victims for failing to rise above their circumstances, all while consolidating power into elite hands. Seemingly beneficial interventions such as minimum wage laws that price unskilled blacks out of the labor markets, public housing and criminal-ridden projects, and mandatory schooling at terrible public institutions were particularly pernicious because they came wrapped in a rhetoric of beneficence." Williams was also a contrarian. He attacked discrimination by the state, but defended the rights of private citizens to exclude whomever they wanted for whatever reason. A public library, he said, couldn't discriminate, but a private library could turn away anyone it wanted to. From our 2011 interview. "One of my strong values is freedom of association. If you believe in freedom of association, you have to accept that people will associate in ways that you will find offensive. I believe people have the right to discriminate on the basis they want, as long as they are not using a government to do so." Freedom of choice. That's one of his things. Williams had a great flair for the apocalyptic. In his column and during stints guest hosting for Rush Limbaugh, he would often argue that America had irrevocably lost its way, especially when it came to defending the economic freedom that he believed was essential to rising living standards. If his rhetoric ran hot, he nevertheless asked questions that are well worth considering a decade after the recession and in the midst of a medically induced economic coma. Are we so arrogant to think that we are different from other people around the world? How different are we from the Romans who went down the tubes, or the British, or the French, or the Spanish, or the Portuguese? These are great empires of the past, but they went down the tubes for roughly the same thing that we're doing. Liberty is a rare state of affairs in mankind's history. Arbitrary abuse and control by others is a standard dish even now. All the tendencies are for us to have greater and greater amounts of liberty usurped by government. If we were not as far down the road of serfdom as be feared, in its good part due to its voluminous writings and appearances, which were by turns impassionate, impassioned, funny, insightful, and memorable as hell, Walter Williams. Rest in peace. Here's an interview with him on 2011, and folks, please check it out. I gotta say, like I said, he's always been a pleasure to read and listen to his presentations because, hey, those are, like I said before, he's a role model, not these hacks to see right now, these synthetic movements, these posers. Man is inspiring. That's what he does. Liberty equals freedom plus morality. Yeah, you have the right to choose your destiny. But you got to take responsibility as well. All I have to say to you, Dr. Walter Williams, thank you for staying on your principles. And may your soul be forever free, along with your wife. And that will be it. I thank you. Free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, if you say something interesting, want to check it out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. Furthermore, I'll leave the footnotes of these articles on my Spreaker page. If you're going to contact me, you can hit me at LookYouLuck3@gmail.com, or this is one I prefer more, LookYouLuckNumbers03@protonmail.com. If you want to send your love to Reason or Washington Examiner, that'd be great. If you want to send me some contributions, you can hit me at paypal.me/LookYouLuck3. Once again, thank you for your time. But always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.